Thank you. Right. I'm just going to read you a quote from American ecologist Aldo Leopold. This framed version was given to me when he was 14 years old. He found it by himself. He didn't know that I was an Aldo Leopold fan, but he's here actually at the back column. We abuse land because we regard it as a commodity belonging to us. When we see land as a community to which we belong, we may begin to use it with love and respect. Now, what I want to try and do is look. You know, that was said 60. Aldo Leopold died 68 years ago, so he wrote those words, you know, quite a while ago, and it feels to me that it's about time we did something about, you know, so making that transition between seeing land as a commodity, which Tal has talked most beautifully about, and seeing land as a community to which we belong. So I feel that here in Devon we are in a very, very special position because we have an alive indigenous culture here that is ancient ways of working and living on the land that can help guide us through this change that we're going to have to make. Sorry, I'll leave that one on the floor. I'll start with this one. I want to talk about a very specific people-to-place relationship and try and tease out something which is universal about it, that our indigenous culture here can guide us to, but also every indigenous culture in every place. No, it's okay. This document. This people-to-place relationship is very specific. It's about these two people. His name is Walter, and he comes from a place called Fair Oak in just the other side of Exeter in the Blackdown Hills. Here on his 60th wedding anniversary with his, or 50th anniversary with his wife Ida. Both recently passed away. So it's about him and his relationship with a particular piece of land called Fair Oak. Now, I worked as a farm labourer on Fair Oak in the 1970s for a short time, but I did some research after Walter died about 12 years ago, and this is one document I found. This is a copy. The original's in the Exeter Records Office, but this is a land tenure document. Okay, from Walter's farm. This is dated 1722. And it has in it clauses where the person who uses the land was legally bound to practice husbandry. Husbandry being defined in the document as practices to care for the land that were common at that time in the parish of Pottery. Okay, so this land tenure document has husbandry clauses. Now, I also farm a bit of land as part of our husbandry school, and we also have a land tenancy. So I'm a land tenant on most of the land. I was going to say our land, but Tal might have something to say about it. My land tenancy document also has husbandry clauses. So I'm not officially, legally allowed to allow thistles to grow on the land. You know, so it's part of my duty is to care for the land. Now, this other document here is also from Walter's farm. This is an indentured labour document. It happens to be the same legal basis that the slave trade was run under. But this document here is an apprenticeship indenture for a young boy called John Pook, who at age 10 was bound to the farmer at Fair Oak, the same place. And the farmer at this particular time was a woman called Anne Rogers. So the husbandry, although it sounds like a bit of a male thing, but husbandry was being taught, in this case by a woman. And this young boy, John Pook, was bound for 14 years to be taught and instructed in the trade of husbandry. So husbandry was a trade that was here in Devon, was a regular, legally thing, and you can find these documents relating to many pieces of land all around Devon. And at the age of 24, he says here, which is quite a nice little bit, it says, at the end of the said term, shall and will make, provide, allow, and deliver unto the said apprentice double apparel of all sorts, good and new, that is to say, a good new suit for the holy days, and another for the working days. So this young man, 24, he would have been highly skilled, given his freedom, highly skilled in the trade of husbandry, okay? So now we come to what on earth husbandry is. So I'll just have to tell you a little story relating to another piece of land and another few people, and this is our husbandry school out at Ashburton and Bickington, and I found myself the other day forking shit, or manure as it's more politely called, and it was sort of well rotted from the business that was done by our cows and sheep and goats last winter, and while I was doing it, it sort of came to me that perhaps we can sort of tease out a principle of what husbandry is from the practice of it, because the principle feels like it's extremely noble and almost unachievable, and the practice is really messy and bloody and earthy, and you get covered in shit. Okay? So while I was doing this, it came to me that actually everything that I was handling, the muck and the soil, and even the bits of plastic that were lying around, the land, the ecology of the land, was all part of this land community. And as such, being a member of a community, it was all to be handled with as much respect, care, dignity, even a sense of the sacred as any of us can imagine. Any of us can imagine handling or talking to or being with, the most respected person who we admire most in the world. The stuff of the plastic and the dirt and the muck is to be handled in exactly the same way. Okay, that's the principle. It's an enormously noble aspiration, and try and tease it out from the reality of the practice of it. Now, Walter, bless him, he was a lovely man to work with, and his daughter told me after he died that, one thing, he'd only ever spent 3 days and nights of his life away from his land, so he was very, very, very closely associated with it. But she also told him that, he was a rough husbandman, and I'm an even rougher one, unfortunately, but there we go. She said, I knew when I was there, he washed his milking parlour out, with plenty of water twice a day. He washed his teeth once a week on a Sunday morning. He also, on a Sunday morning, paid attention to his finances, and I quite like the sort of the equivalence of washing teeth and paying attention to finances. Trying to tease out, so actually, and I spend my time sort of working with the land, but like Anthony here says, we all spend our time working with the land. So every single one of us here is involved in husbandry of what we touch and what we stand on every day. So in some ways, we're all apprentices to this. Here in Devon, we're all inheritors of this indigenous tradition, and of course, everywhere around the world, in every place, you'll find a different tradition in Totnes that you would in Ashburton. You'll find, and you'll find every indigenous culture all around the world has some traditions of, has at its main core traditions of how to pay respect to the stuff that we have to handle all the time, which includes stuff that we call waste. In fact, one of these clauses in this Land Tenure Document specifically talks about the muck and the waste and how that was to be preserved. Okay, so well, that's what I want to try and I think the point I'm trying to make is that one thing Walter told me was that he was quite slow in taking on new technology. He was born in 1926 in the age of horse-drawn husbandry, as they call it, and he spent his whole life sort of mechanising the farm. So by the time he died, he was you know, he had 2 combine harvesters and a whole set of tractors and was sending emails to his daughter on a computer. So but every time a new technology came along, he was not the first in his parish to take on the new technology. He was a bit conservative. He was a bit slow, but what I call slow and clever, because it was sort of seeing how each new thing that comes along can be used as a tool to help him in his task of caring for the stuff of his land. I mean, he had a big piece of land to care for. It was 240 acres, and it was a big, messy, earthy business, you know. And I think the message that we can take from to guide us through this period of enormous change is to try and be slow and clever, and not be too rushed, not rush this too much. We need to look deeply, each one of us, into the story, the indigenous story of the people to place relationship that we are part of. The other thing that Walter showed me in his teaching of husbandry is that it's a long process. It's something that can't be rushed. It's something that we are all part of, and a careful and deep look into the relationship between people and place that we're all part of is going to help guide us through. Well, I'll leave to Julian, who's speaking next, to talk about some of the ways in which we can make this transition between sharing and being participant in the land community. But the indigenous culture here in Devon has a lot of stories, and in the landscape even, you know, the big Devon hedges as the boundaries between ourselves and our neighbours. And of course, when you step across a hedge, is the land that you're looking after this side of the hedge. You know, you have exclusive use of it this side of the hedge. Is it any different or more sacred than the land the other side of the hedge, which your neighbour's looking after, and is a part of that community? So the boundaries between your exclusive use of a piece of the earth, okay, and your neighbour's exclusive use of a piece of the earth are something that, you know, in our culture recently, in the last 500 years, you know, or the last 1,000, 2,000 years, we've led to believe it's, oh, this is the land that's owned this side of the hedge and somebody else owns it the other side of the hedge. But actually, if we all come to this sort of, we're users of the earth, we need to respect the earth, then a relationship with our neighbours changes. It becomes something, it's something that you want to participate in the community of your neighbours. So if you're using a piece of the earth here exclusively for your own private use, you know, you've got your house on it, or you've got your farm on it, or you've got your bank on it, or whatever, then a user fee, a compensation to the community for your exclusive use of the earth is the proper way to participate in the public community, because all of us want to live with a little bit of private space. We all need private space, but we all need public space. We all need to be part of a public. So this it feels like you know, let's make this change slowly. Let's not rush this, and let's use the guidance of this sort of big picture that we're all part of. I mean, you know, I think through the 20th century we were all, you know, too quick to rush to better solutions, you know, fascism and communism and all sorts of better solutions that people come up with. But actually, let's look deep into our ancient indigenous past and see if we can get some guidance. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I love this idea of regionalisation. How many people here speak with a Devon accent? Wow, thank you. The other day, someone came to cut my hedge, and he had a proper Devon accent, and I really struggled to understand. And I realised this is the language of this land. Most of us don't speak that language. It has all sorts of phrases that are very particular to this landscape. It's very beautiful.